Commissioner Kelly cannot join us today, so we will have Treasurer Adam Rains sit in his place, but I believe we need a vote on that. So
Yes, a motion to accept him to the Board of Canvassers.
It's Commissioner Reed here. I move to accept Adam Rains in place of Commissioner Patrick Kelly today
on the Board of Canvassers.
on the Board of Canvassers.
I will second and bring that to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We will turn everything over to you.
All right. Welcome, commissioners. I know for each one of you, this is your first canvass. So I always start out in the law. The key part is whether there are manifest errors is what the law says. And so I always start out by saying there are no manifest errors in this. We'll start out going through everything that happened on election day. And I always talk about, I practice what's called balance to the ballot. So rather than giving you just an aggregate, we go through how many signatures we have, how many ballots we have accounted for, so that in the end, we can match that the same number of voters that walk through the door is the same number of ballots that we've tabulated. So the first part, you've got a legal sheet that looks like this. I'm going to pull it up just 1 second. Wrong computer. All right, I'm going to pull it up so that people can see it that are home on Zoom. All right, so and first of all, this is just the precincts that we used in this election. We're not all the precincts in the county because it was only for USD 497 in this city commission. So precinct 1, we had 96 ballots through the scanner. We had 8 provisionals, 96 signatures with 8 provisional signatures. Precincts 2, 3, and 7 at the Carnegie Building, 213 ballots through the scanner with 7 provisionals, 212 e-poll book signatures, 1 paper poll book signature, 7 provisional signatures. Just to explain to you, we have some citizens that don't want to sign the e-poll book, so we have the paper poll book available to them. We actually have some citizens who can't sign the e-poll book, so the paper poll book is also available, and it's there as a backup. So the fact that there are paper poll book signatures does not mean that there was an issue. Precincts 4, 5, and 42, 126 ballots through the scanner with 7 provisionals, 126 signatures, 1 provisional signature. Precinct 11, 62 ballots through the scanner, 1 provisional, 62 signatures, 1 provisional signature. Precincts 12, 23, and 24, 220 ballots through the scanner with 0 provisionals, 220 poll book signatures, 0 provisional signatures. Precincts 6 and 13, 184 ballots through the scanner with 4 provisionals, 180, there's supposed to be 2 paper poll books right there. 182 e-poll book signatures with 2 paper poll book, 4 provisional signatures for 186. Precincts 14 and 17, 185 ballots through the scanner, 5 provisionals, 185 e-poll book signatures, 5 provisional signatures. Precincts 9, 10, 15, and 21, 190 ballots through the scanner with 2 provisionals, 190 e-poll book signatures with 2 provisional signatures. Precinct 16 and 46, 187 ballots through the scanner with 4 provisionals, 187 e-poll book signatures, 4 provisional signatures. Precincts 18 and 48, 300 ballots through the scanner, 0 provisionals, 300 e-poll book signatures, 0 provisional signatures. Precinct 19, 177 ballots through the scanner, 7 provisionals, 173 e-poll book signatures, 3 paper poll book signatures, and 7 provisional signatures. 1 provisional was put into the tabulator, which is why they have one ballot more than signatures. That ballot would have been, it was an ID expired. It would have been a count if we had gotten the ID, we contacted the voter did not respond back. It would have been a no count. But it is part of the tabulation. Precinct 47, 69 ballots to the scanner with one provisional, 69 e-poll book signatures, one provisional signature. Precincts 20 and 71, 238 ballots to the scanner with one provisional, 238 e-poll book signatures, one provisional signature for 239. Precinct 22 and 76, they had 75 ballots to the scanner, 4 provisionals, and then 4 ballots that needed to be hand entered. We had a new supervising judge out there. They had some ballots that they thought shouldn't go through the scanner. They should have. So we just hand entered them once they came back to us on election night. 79 e-poll book signatures. They also did not have the provisional voters sign the provisional vote, but we did verify that there were 4 provisional envelopes. Precincts 25 and 26, 91 ballots through the scanner with one provisional, 91 e-poll book signatures, one provisional signature. Precincts 32 and 30.2, 47 ballots through the scanner, one provisional, 47 e-poll book signatures, one provisional signature. Precinct 29, 52 ballots to the scanner, 5 provisionals, 52 e-poll book signatures, 5 provisional signatures. Precinct 31, 94 ballots to the scanner, 5 provisionals, 94 signatures, 5 provisional signatures for 99. Precincts 27, 28, and 30.1, 164 ballots to the scanner, 4 provisionals, 164 e-poll book signatures, 4 provisional signatures for 168. Precinct 33, 124 ballots to the scanner, 1 provisional, 124 e-poll book signatures, 1 provisional signature. Precinct 34, 100 ballots to the scanner, 4 provisionals, 100 signatures, 4 provisional signatures for 104. Precinct 35, 72 ballots to the scanner with 0 provisionals, 72 e-poll book signatures for 72 provisional signature for 72 total voters. Precinct 36, 37, 38, and 77. This also includes the 40 voters in the Eudora precincts that could have voted, and I think they had 1 that came over. 240 ballots to the scanner with 5 provisionals, 240 e-poll book signatures, 5 provisional signatures for 245 voters. Precinct 39, 106 ballots to the scanner with 1 provisional, 106 e-poll book signatures, 1 provisional signature. Precincts 8 and 40, 88 ballots for the scanner, 2 provisionals, 88 e-poll book signatures, 2 provisional signatures. Precinct 41, 134 ballots to the scanner, 4 provisionals, 134 e-poll book signatures, 4 provisional signatures. Precincts 43 and 70, 166 ballots to the scanner, 3 provisionals, 166 poll book signatures with 3 provisional signatures. Precincts 44 and 64, 103 ballots to the scanner with 0 provisionals, 102 e-poll book signatures, 1 paper poll book with 0 provisional signatures. On the second page, precincts 45 and 49, 393 ballots for the scanner with 6 provisionals, 393 e-poll book signatures, 6 provisional signatures. Precinct 51 also had some of the voters from Marion Township, which are in 497, come to it. Had 42 ballots to the scanner, 1 provisional. They had 41 e-poll book, 1 paper poll book, 1 provisional signature for 43 voters. Grant Township also had Leavenworth voters come over. 497 goes into Leavenworth. They actually had, I believe, 6 Leavenworth voters in this total. 23 ballots for the scanner, 1 provisional. They had 11 e-poll book signatures, 12 paper poll book signatures, and 1 provisional signature for 24. They had, just so you're aware, They had people who didn't want to sign the poll book, but also for Leavenworth, we had a paper poll book for the Leavenworth voters because of uploading the data to the e-poll book. So that's why there's so many. Precinct 56, 32 ballots through the scanner, 4 provisionals, 32 e-poll book signatures, 4 provisional signatures. Precinct 65, 66, 47 ballots, 0 provisionals, 47 signatures, 0 provisional signatures. The winners of the longest day ever, Willow Springs, 10 ballots through the scanner, 0 provisionals, 10 e-poll book signatures, 0 provisional signatures. And most of those happened in the morning. So, and then precinct 74, 120 ballots to the scanner, 3 provisionals, 120 e-poll book signatures, 3 provisional signatures. The next thing we're going to look at is a sheet that says advanced ballot report. I'm going to pull that up. We actually had a pretty good turnout for advance comparatively for city school primary. We had 946 people show up in person. 16 of those are provisional outstanding. We had 1,730 ballots requested for mail. We received back 1,067. Of those, 51 were ones we had returned to us as not deliverable. 9 were provisional, which gives us 107. So all told, we had 2,676 ballots requested. 2,013 were received. 51 were not deliverable. 61 in-person provisionals. 9 mail provisionals. So 1953 is the number that we ran through on election night and that were added. We can add anything that is postmarked by election day on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we were able to add about 180 that had been either dropped off at the polling place or we received the next day. So I always talk about, like, on Wednesday, I think we received 67, and they were all properly postmarked, some of them from the week before. So that's a law that is working. And that 1953, we had 6,500 voters. So that's a pretty good advanced turnout. So the next report is the provisional report. There are 121 provisionals. We have a recommendation to count 98. As always, the biggest number for recommended count or change of address, people within Douglas County who just moved and did not update their voter registration. So we have 52 of those. We have 3 name changes, 5 poll worker or clerk error. That is, a poll worker can't find them on the poll book, but maybe, we misspelled their name or the poll worker misspelled their name when they went to look for them. That's where provisionals work as a fail-safe for a voter. So they don't get denied the right to vote. We just get to fix it. 11 people asked for an advanced ballot but did not return it. We had 10 that were ID related. We contacted them and none of them brought in their IDs to be able to count. We had 25 that were in the wrong precinct. They're a full count, and 2 that were in the wrong precinct, and they are partial count. So those were 2 county voters that came into the city and voted, but they can only vote on the school board. They can't vote on the city. So when we open those, we will only count the ballots that are for the city, for the school board, not for the city. We have 22 that we recommend not to count. 2 people were just not registered at all. 10 are ID issues, and I can tell you that all 10 of those were expired IDs. Last year, we were under the governor's order, and because of the emergency mandate, we could accept an expired driver's license. The emergency mandate is not in place. So every one of those were expired driver's licenses. One person, which was advanced not returned, often, and I get questions about this, that's a person who comes in and says, I mailed it. I don't know if you're going to get it. We say, go ahead and vote. We'll vote provisional. If we receive it, then we'll count that one. If we don't receive it, we'll count your provisional. So this is a person who they were kind of nervous whether we were going to get it. So they did a provisional, but we did receive their advanced ballot. One person was registered in another county, which in Kansas, you cannot change registration after 20 days from another county. 3 people showed up to vote out in the county that live in other school districts. And so they voted provisional because the board workers couldn't find them on the poll book. And then we were able to contact them and say, your school district did not have a primary. So of all the ballots that we received back in time, none of them did not have a postmark. We did have 4 with a postmark after 8-3. So they were, all 4 were 8-4. Those are a recommended no count. And then we had one, we usually are able to clear up all of the signatures, but we had one that we could not, they didn't sign it. We tried to get a hold of them. We did not get a signature from them, and so that's a no count. Then one that I always bring to commissioners with no recommendation, we always tell poll workers that if a voter arrives after 7 p.m., you can't let them vote, have them vote provisional. I'll take it to the board, write down what time they arrived. I'll take it to the board of canvassers, and the board of canvassers can decide whether to accept it or not. So I have one provisional. The voter arrived at 7:10 and cast a provisional ballot. And I don't have a recommendation on that. That is, the board of canvassers do that. I can tell you that historically, if it's a couple minutes, the canvassers have given some leeway. 10 minutes is kind of outside that window, but that is up to the 3 of you to decide whether you want to accept it. So you can discuss that, but I need a motion to accept this. Included in that motion is what to do with the no recommendation.
Thank you, Jamie. So it sounds like first we need to discuss what to do with that one provisional ballot that arrived at 7:10. Do we have any more information or explanation from the person as to why they got there at 7:10?
No, the board workers just wrote, I always tell them to write down what time it was, and they said 7:10. So
Thank you.
Would that person have been informed that their ballot may not be?
yeah, so what the board workers are supposed to do is say, we're going to fill this out, and it'll be up to the board of canvassers if you want to, tell the board of canvassers, kind of present your side of it. This is when the meeting is and so forth. But yes, they tell them, I always tell the board workers, never say whether something will count or not count, because that's not their decision. Just say that's up to the board of canvassers. Even with the ones like change of address and stuff, that's not up to them.
Thoughts?
Sorry to have one of these on your first.
Yeah,
Canvas,
that's interesting one, Jamie. I mean, I have a tendency to appreciate grace periods, and I can understand that historically 10 minutes may be generally considered outside an appropriate window. That's not very decisive, but those are the thoughts in my head.
I guess I just really struggle with a few minutes and then what is the cutoff? 10 is a round number, so that seems like a reasonable, like that's outside of the window, but it's less than a quarter of an hour, which I tend to think like you often live pretty close to your precinct, but all kinds of things could be happening. I always want people to be able to vote. That's my default. So I would lean towards accepting it recognizing that it's a bit outside of those few minute windows.
I would also lean that way of accepting it, even though it's kind of like Commissioner Shannon said, it's outside the window. It's, you know, the 10 minutes thing. I would probably lean towards accepting the vote.
I'm good with that. Can we ask questions about this before making a motion?
Yes.
So thanks for pointing out that the 10 ID issues were expired driver's licenses, and that is a kind of hard and fast rule outside of the emergency management or emergency orders we were in 2020. What was the other one that I had a question about? I was just curious about the name changes. Is that that people have legally changed their names since they last updated their voter registration and just hadn't updated their registration to match?
Correct.
Okay. Yep, that was my only question. Anybody else have questions before I make a motion?
And they're allowed, for the ones that are expired, like they can use the little slip that you get. So like the board workers tell them, if you just go, you know, down to the DMV and then show the clerk's office, and they don't even need to bring it personally, they can send it as an electronic copy. And then on Wednesday, we always pull all the ID ones and call those voters to inform them what they need to do. Because I just want to make sure that they got that message. So each one of them was informed of that.
That's helpful. So you mean within, I mean, theoretically, somebody could be told at the polls that they could do that before the end of that business day, but they could do it that week or before today's
Today.
date, before
So-
today's date.
Yeah, so they get a little receipt that kind of tells them, you know, when the canvas date is and stuff. So all of that stuff can be cleared by 9 a.m. this morning.
Great, that's super helpful. Thanks, Jamie. I'm ready to make a motion.
I do just want to say I really appreciate your office going above and beyond and calling folks and making sure that they know all of their options. That's incredibly important for everyone in our community. So thank you.
As Commissioner Reed here, I move to approve today's provisional ballot report, including the one vote that was received at 7:10 p.m.
I'll second and bring that up for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, as you know, we had a tie on election night. It's now 7 votes, the difference between 6 and 7 on USD 497. We'll add in the provisional ballots, and then I'll send you out if there's a significant difference, we can reconvene. But if not, that is what we have for the canvas. We don't have write-in votes for this election.
Okay, so I move to accept the results of the canvass and adjourn the meeting subject to any changes due to provisional ballots affecting the outcome of any race.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.